This is one of the strangest games and strangest computer evaluations of this entire year. It was played in Titillating Tuesday, a weekly online chess tournament for the most elite cheese masters, and playing with white was the world number one Mangrove Carlsen. His opponent was an international master who's very strong, Nicholas Petrashvili, and this game truly has it all. Incredible. Check out the opening move to start with. Is knight h3 from Magnus. Now this is called the Amar opening. It breaks one of Magnus's own opening principles.
Der Springer an dem Rimmer ist ein absolut Wiener Schnitzel.
But I love this. Just for the Nicolols, his opponent goes knight a6. Anything you can do, I can do better. Magnus plays the principled move, and now we end up in a Caro-Kann, but with these weird knights. It's a brand new game, first time ever seen in the Chess.com database, and after this one takes on d5, Magnus allowing the shattering of the pawns. Surely now you take back and win back your piece, right? It's just what you do here, but no, Magnus leaves it hanging there and takes on c6. But the weirdest part of this whole thing is that's the top engine move. So does Magnus know his Caro-Kann opening theory with knights on h3 and a6, or is he just playing on instinct? I got no clue, but how cool is this? And it's already very tricky and trappy. You know, if you put the bishop there, you run into queen f3, which hits 2 bits. No good. If you put the bishop all the way back, then there's this kind of thing, and you got problems on the light squares. You lose a queen. So by process of elimination, this is the best move. Magnus a full piece down now, but his compensation is coming from this awkward knight and the light squares. So he just calmly carries on with the development. You still can't take the pawn, you drop the knight, so it comes back to c7 here, and now Magnus takes on b7 before black can do. The rook moves, and the best move is apparently pawn d5. Again, it's justified via tactical means, so the bishop would have to drop back. But Magnus plays queen f3, similar theme, not as precise. Developing the knight to f6 is best, but instead bishop d5 is played. Now it is logical. You want to play pawn e6, you hit the queen, you're ahead on material, let's start trading pieces. But oh boy, Magnus now chops the queens off the board. Gary the Goat down in Nebraska loves it, one of Magnus's biggest fans, because we're in an endgame here. Magnus going to work with bishop b5 check, king d8. Don't forget he's a full piece down here for what, a couple pawns, and after bishop d2, this one's now spinning around to join the attack, and you can't take, or bishop c6 hits with the seesaw. Yes, you could do this, but white emerges better, all the pawns plus a rook for 2 minors now. So let's run back. Pawn wasn't captured. Instead we see pawn e6. Now the check is played, the knight stumbling backwards, and the best way to go here is actually with castles, which looks so strange to let this pawn drop. But if it's captured, then you play this one. The rook's really short of squares. Let's say it drops back. Now the best move is actually king c8, but if you save the rook, then there's d5, and suddenly the king's in a world of pain. You know, what if you try and move the king off the firing line? Well, then you push the pawn. Let's say you tried to save the knight just to show a line here. That's actually a checkmate. These are some of the cool themes going on. So we run back. We didn't see the pawn captured, and we didn't see castles rather. Magnus plays bishop c6 to defend it, but now black develops with tempo. The bishop drops back, and there's a nice regrouping of king d7, knight c6, but missed. Instead, the knight centralizes, looks very logical, but it can be kicked, of course. However, you should play pawn a3 first. This is a critical square to control, as we're going to see. Magnus gets trigger happy, pushes with the pawn immediately, explosive, but in a bad way, because black can check, forced the bishops off, so Magnus now lost his bishop pair, a huge asset, and after king d2, taking care of this check and fork, now this pawn drops in just a moment. But first, we see a3 trying to drive back this knight. It enters on the c6 square, therefore blocking the bishop from the defense here, also hitting the central pawn, and surely now you play this one, king c3. Just has to be done. Cover the pawn, this is how the line could go, and Magnus gets play with the bayonet pawn structure for the sake of a piece. Black a tiny bit better, but let's run back. Instead, we get the very, very smelly pawn b4. Magnus simply dropping an entire pawn in the center, which is captured, and his bishop's under fire. I mean, it's times like this he wish he played the London system. Like these guys, brothers Raphael and Maxim, the founders of Lotus Chess, the single best chess app for improving your openings I've seen this year, and a new secret weapon in Maxim's arsenal as he tries to catch up to his brother's rating. But how does it work? Well, you simply connect your Lotus Chess with your chess.com or Lichess account. The AI scans all your games and then it does three things. First, it lets you know that you suck at chess. That's very important. Second, it patches all the holes in your opening repertoire. So if you struggle against the Sicilian, the London, it catches that and helps you fix it. And third, my favourite, it has a feature called crushing lines, which shows you real traps and mistakes people at your level actually fall for, so you start winning games in under 15 moves. I mean, there's over 80 just in the London opening itself. It's genuinely brilliant, and it's already helped Maxim hunt down his brother and me hunt down the ever elusive epic grandmother title. So check it out for free, the link's below, and you can also find it in the App Store. So with the bishop attacked, which is defending the pawn, Magnus now centralizes, but to no avail because the pawn charges. You can't stay on the diagonal, so Magnus counterattacks on the knight. It could go to b5 and check. Now you win a critical pawn, this c pawn, but not played. Instead, e5 supports the knight. Now the bishop gives ground. This one enters the game, and after this one blasts down towards the king, we see a sidestep. No tactical trouble. Okay, not the best as you can see, apparently going this way better, but we're sticking with the game. This rook hits the pawn, therefore it advances on, and Magnus saves his bishop. This cannon enters the game. The pawn kicks on, creating a square for the sniper. Takes. Finally that pawn drops off the board. Black definitely for choice now, no two ways about it. Magnus pressures the knight, the rook drops back. We get pawn f3 to break these ones up, and taking technically best, but instead we see check played. Yes, it gets rid of the bishop, but now after this liquidation, Magnus can take, pawn recaptures, and he's winning another pawn, because if you try knight g5 to defend, then there's h4 to kick it away. So black recognizes here, I gotta mix it up and give back the piece just to try and stabilize, get to a level endgame. Magnus attacks both. Now the king defends, we see takes, recaptures with check, the king sidesteps, rook a5, and just like that, Magnus has brought it back to level. How does he do it? Absolute Houdini, but there's a twist to come, because after he rook lifts, defends that pawn, now you can't yet check because the king steps in, we see king d6. Taking away the squares, therefore threatening this check and forcing the king back. So Magnus just has to take. This is how the endgame could go, and you just get a level position. Should be headed towards a draw. If anything, black could end up losing if they mess up their opposition. But not played. Magnus didn't gobble. He instead, pushing for the win, went rook g3, but look at that. Stock Barnacle completely poops its pants because it's a big mistake. Black's now winning, the check is played, and it's game over. Magnus resigns here, but if he stepped back, well then you simply take with check, king goes, now you pick up the rook, and the a-pawn's just running, winning the day. Even if you come over with the king, well then this guy is going to step in, munch these, and you run this one. No good, you can't get to all of it. So a big win there for Nicolas. He's just an international master, takes down Magnus. What a game it was. Do check out Lotus Chess, links down in the description, and have a look at the video on screen if you want another epic game from Magnus Carlsen. Thanks very much for watching, and see you soon. Cheers.